The kiss cam that ended a CEO's career, it started with a kiss cam and ended with a resignation, a corporate investigation, 46 million people watching, and 2 lives that will never be the same. This is the story of the night a stadium screen exposed what an entire company and 2 families didn't know. July 16, 2025. Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts. 60,000 people packed in for one of the biggest bands in the world, Coldplay. For most people there that night, it was a perfect summer evening. Music and strangers and the kind of joy that reminds you why you're alive. For 2 people in that crowd, it became the worst night of their lives, and they brought it entirely on themselves. Let's talk about who was there. Andy Byron, 52 years old, CEO of a tech company called Astronomer, a data infrastructure firm valued at over $1 billion. A respected leader in the industry, a man who had built something real. He was also married. His wife was not at the concert that night. Seated beside him was Kristen Cabot, the chief people officer at Astronomer. That means she was the head of HR, the person responsible for the company's culture, its values, its code of conduct. The person employees would go to if they had a problem, including, theoretically, a problem with the CEO. Think about that for a second. The head of HR and the CEO together. At a concert, while his wife was somewhere else, somewhere in the middle of Coldplay's set, the stadium kiss cam swept through the crowd. The camera found Andy Byron and Kristen Cabot. 60,000 people watched him lean in close to her, comfortable, intimate, the kind of physical ease you don't have with a colleague. Not unless the relationship has become something else entirely. For about 2 seconds, they didn't realize they were on screen. Those 2 seconds were everything, because in those 2 seconds, the camera captured what they looked like when they thought no one was watching. And then they realized the shift was visible to 60,000 people simultaneously. Byron's expression went from warm and relaxed to something that can only be described as caught. Cabot turned, not toward the camera, not toward the crowd, but away, hiding her face. They separated, physically, immediately, like magnets reversed. And then Chris Martin, standing on that stage, watching the same screen everyone else was watching, leaned into his microphone and said, with a slight smile, either they're having an affair, or they're just very shy. The crowd roared. Somewhere in that stadium, 2 people wanted to disappear into the floor. A concert goer named Grace Springer had her phone out. She caught the whole thing. She posted it to TikTok before the concert was even over. By midnight, it had 1 million views. By the next morning, 5 million. By the end of that week, 46 million. Let that number sit for a moment. 46 million views. That is not internet noise. That is a cultural event. More views than most major news stories, most viral celebrity moments, most manufactured marketing campaigns. A random concert-goer's shaky vertical phone video of 2 people on a jumbotron. Because here's what the internet understood immediately, before any names were confirmed, before any company was identified. They looked guilty. That's it. That's the whole thing. They didn't smile and wave and play it off. They didn't laugh. They didn't even look at each other. They panicked. In public, on a stadium screen, with 60,000 witnesses. And that panic told a story that no statement, no denial, no PR response could undo. Within hours of the video going live, the internet investigated. Users combed LinkedIn profiles, company websites, social media. By Thursday morning, less than 12 hours after the concert, they had names. Andy Byron, Kristen Cabot, Astronomer. And then it got more complicated, because what people found when they looked closer was a press release from just months earlier. Andy Byron himself had publicly announced Kristen Cabot's hiring as Chief People Officer. He'd praised her, quoted himself saying she was a perfect fit for Astronomer. Her passion for culture, he'd said, her collaborative spirit, her alignment with the company's values. The irony was not lost on anyone. The CEO had hired his head of HR, called her a perfect fit, in a press release, with his name on it. The same woman responsible for upholding company values was allegedly violating them, with her boss. This is the part that made the story explode beyond a cheating scandal and into something corporate America couldn't look away from. This isn't just personal. This is a governance scandal, a conflict of interest at the highest possible level. The head of HR in a relationship with the CEO at a company of hundreds of employees who had no idea. Thursday, astronomer issues a brief statement. They announce a formal investigation. Friday, the New York Post runs a full story. Every major tech publication picks it up. Andy Byron is placed on administrative leave. Kristen Cabot quietly steps away. Saturday, astronomer releases a second statement. Our leaders are expected to set the standard in both conduct and accountability. Recently, that standard was not met. Andy Byron had tendered his resignation. The board had accepted it. $1 billion company. A CEO with decades of experience. A career, a reputation. Gone. Because of a kiss cam. Because of 2 seconds on a stadium screen. Here's where I want to slow down. Because in the middle of the viral clip, the resignation, the corporate investigation, the memes, there are real people whose lives were shattered. And most of them didn't choose any of this. Andy Byron's wife. We don't know her name. She hasn't spoken publicly. She was not at that concert. She found out the same way 46 million strangers did. Imagine that. Imagine being at home while your husband is at a concert. And your phone starts going off, and you open it. And there's your husband, on a stadium screen, with a woman. And the look on his face tells you everything you were afraid to know. We don't know how she found out. We don't know what happened in that house when it all came down. What we do know is that her private pain, the kind that should be processed behind closed doors with people who love her, became a global conversation. She never asked for that. 5 months after the concert, December 2025, Kristen Cabot spoke to the New York Times. She denied a full-blown affair. She said it was one kiss, after drinks, and that the intimacy had been exaggerated by context. Whether you believe that is between you and your own judgment. What is harder to dismiss is what she said about the aftermath. Kristen Cabot received over 60 death threats. 60 death threats for an alleged kiss at a concert. She said she couldn't go out in public for weeks, that strangers who had never met her sent messages describing how they hoped she would die. Whatever happened at that concert, Kristen Cabot is a human being. Andy Byron is a human being. His wife is a human being. None of them deserve violence. The internet has a way of collapsing the distance between judgment and cruelty. And sometimes, in the viral spiral, we forget that there are actual people on the other side of the screen. Psychologists asked why this story captivated people so completely gave fascinating answers. One therapist said, "We aren't usually privy to an assumed affair in real time. It felt like a screenplay occurring." Another noted something more precise. If the couple had just continued to smile and waited for the camera to move before they reacted, the clip would have gotten no attention at all. Think about that. The viral moment wasn't the potential affair. Affairs happen every day, everywhere, and nobody makes a 46 million view video about them. The viral moment was the panic, the moment of being seen, the involuntary, unfiltered, completely honest reaction of two people who had been doing something they knew was wrong, and suddenly couldn't hide it. That's what 46 million people couldn't look away from. Not the affair, the face that said, without a single word, "We are caught." Because that face is universal. Most of us have never been caught on a stadium screen, but we all know what it feels like, in some smaller, quieter way, to be seen doing something we shouldn't. And there's something else. This was a CEO and his head of HR rich, powerful, successful people, the kind who usually control their own narrative, the kind who have PR teams and legal departments and the resources to manage their image. And they got caught by a phone camera at a concert in front of 60,000 people. There's a reason that felt satisfying to a lot of people who will never run a billion-dollar company, never have a PR team, never get to control their own story. Sometimes the jumbotron just finds you. As of the end of 2025, here is where things stand. Andy Byron has not made a public statement. His future plans are unknown. Whether his marriage survived, whether he has rebuilt professionally, none of that is public. Kristen Cabot gave her New York Times interview and has otherwise remained quiet. Astronomer named an interim CEO and announced a leadership search. And the video is still out there. It will always be out there. 46 million views. A concert, a camera, two people who thought no one was watching. The world is full of cameras now. In your pocket, in the hands of 60,000 strangers at a concert, on every corner and every corner of every room. There is no private moment in public anymore. People have always found ways to keep secrets, always found dark corners, deleted texts, private aliases. And for a long time, those strategies worked. But now someone always has a phone out. And sometimes, in the middle of 60,000 people singing along to a Coldplay song, a camera finds you. And what it finds on your face, in those 2 unguarded seconds before you realize you're being watched, tells the whole story. I've been sitting with this story for a while, and the thing that stays with me isn't the scandal, isn't the resignation or the investigation or the numbers. It's that moment, just before they realized. 2 people at a concert, music all around them, and for just a second they were just 2 people. And then the screen found them. Andy Byron lost his job. Kristen Cabot lost her career. Someone's wife found out in the worst possible way. Hundreds of employees had to reckon publicly with what their leaders had done in private. All of it, from one kiss cam on one Wednesday night at a Coldplay concert. If you're watching this in the dark tonight, and I know some of you are, let me ask you something. Is there something you're hiding? Because somewhere out there, there's always a camera. And you never know which screen you're about to end up on.